Isn't it remarkable how our ancestors could compress the most profound truths of human psychology into a story so simple a child could understand it? These old tales, passed down through whispers around a fire, are not just fables. They are intricate maps of our own minds, charting the treacherous landscapes of fear, ambition, and belief. Washington Irving's The Legend of Sleepy Hollow is a masterwork of this tradition. On the surface, it's a quaint ghost story, a bit of seasonal fun about a bumbling schoolteacher and a phantom rider. But to leave it there is to see only the surface of the water and miss the vast, complex world teeming just beneath. The story's genius is not in its ghost, but in its masterful understanding of how ghosts are made, how they are wielded, and how they ultimately reveal the deepest truths about ourselves. To understand the tragedy of Ichabod Crane, we must first understand the world that consumes him. Sleepy Hollow is not merely a setting, it is a state of being. It's a place where the air itself is described as having a drowsy, dreamy influence, a valley insulated from the hustle and progress of the outside world, where time seems to pool and stagnate. This is critical. Sleepy Hollow is an ecosystem of belief. Its inhabitants are not simply superstitious. Their superstitions are the very grandeur of their reality. The legends of the Headless Horseman, of the weeping woman in white, are not just stories. They are pillars of the community's identity. Into this sealed environment steps Ichabod Crane, and he is, in every way, the perfect kind of kindling for the valley's spectral fire. He is a man of letters, an educator, supposedly a representative of reason and enlightenment from the more advanced state of Connecticut. Yet, this veneer of intellect is paper-thin. Irving tells us Ichabod is a huge feeder, both of food and of stories. He consumes knowledge voraciously, but it is all secondhand. He has a vast collection of facts and tales, from cotton growing to witchcraft, but he possesses very little true wisdom. His reason is not a tool for understanding the world, but a tool for advancing his ambition. He uses his arithmetic, for instance, not to enlighten his students, but to calculate the immense value of the Van Tassel farm, imagining every field as a bag of money, every goose and turkey a future delicacy on his plate. This is the central paradox of Ichabod Crane and the first great lesson of the Hollow. His educated mind does not protect him from superstition. It feeds it, because he treats all information as equal. A ghost story from an old wife holds the same weight in his mind as a passage from a history book. He is a container for information, not a critical thinker. His imagination, undisciplined by wisdom or self-awareness, becomes his greatest enemy. It is a wild, untamed thing that takes the seeds of local lore planted during the day and grows them into monstrous forests of terror by night. He is, in essence, a man whose intellect has made him a more sophisticated kind of fool, more susceptible to the very phantoms that a simpler man might just ignore. He proves that knowledge is not a shield against fear. Only wisdom is. And wisdom is something Ichabod Crane completely lacks. This vulnerability, this fatal flaw in his character, is not lost on his rival, Abraham Van Brunt, or, as he's known, Brom Bones. And here, the story pivots from a simple character study into a brilliant treatise on psychological warfare. Brom Bones is often dismissed as a simple, brutish antagonist, a local thug. But this is a profound misreading. Brom is the apex predator of this specific social ecosystem. He is not a brute. He is a strategist of the highest order. He understands the terrain he operates on, and that terrain is not the physical landscape of the valley, but the psychological landscape of its people, and most acutely, the fearful mind of Ichabod Crane. Consider his methods. Brom could have easily challenged Ichabod to a fistfight and won. He is the town hero, strong, boisterous, and respected, but a physical victory would have been crude, and perhaps even made Ichabod a sympathetic figure in Katrina's eyes. Brom chooses a far more elegant and devastating weapon: the story itself. He doesn't attack Ichabod's body. He attacks his imagination. The constant pranks, smoking out the schoolhouse, turning the desks upside down are not just childish hijinks. They are a campaign of psychological attrition, designed to unnerve his rival, to make him feel constantly watched and unwelcome, to reinforce his status as an outsider. The true masterstroke comes at the Van Tassel's party. This gathering is not a social event for Brom, it is his theater of war. He allows the atmosphere to grow thick with ghost stories, letting the local folklore do the heavy lifting, priming Ichabod's already overactive imagination. And then, at the peak of the fear, Brom delivers his coup de grace. He doesn't just mention the Headless Horseman, he inserts himself into the narrative. He claims to have raised the specter himself, and tells the gathered crowd exactly how he escaped, by reaching the bridge by the old church. This is not a boast. It is a meticulously laid trap. With this one story, Brom accomplishes three things. He validates the existence of the ghost in Ichabod's mind, he establishes his own superiority, and most critically, he hands Ichabod the rules for the very nightmare he is about to unleash upon him. He is essentially telling him, the monster is real, and this is your only means of escape. He is directing the horror movie that he himself will star in. This is the weaponization of narrative. It's the understanding that you don't need to defeat your enemy's reality. You only need to control his perception of it. This conflict also speaks to a deeper tension, the clash between the outsider and the established community. Ichabod is not just a suitor. He is an interloper, a carpetbagger from Connecticut with dreams of conquest. His desire for Katrina is inseparable from his desire for her father's estate. He is a foreign element seeking to absorb the community's greatest prize. In this light, Brom Bones becomes something more than a rival. He becomes the community's immune system. He is the embodiment of the valley's spirit, physical, grounded, confident, and deeply connected to the land and its traditions. His actions, while seemingly personal, serve a communal function to identify, isolate, and expel a threat to the social order. The final chase through the woods is not just a man in a costume scaring a schoolteacher. It is the spirit of Sleepy Hollow itself, personified by its chosen champion, purging a foreign agent that it has rejected. And this leads us to the story's haunting, ambiguous climax, which is where its true genius is sealed. After a terrifying chase, Ichabod crosses the church bridge, the finish line Brom had so helpfully provided for him. He looks back, expecting to be safe, only to see the horseman hurl its head, a severed head, at him, knocking him from his horse. The next morning, there's no sign of Ichabod, only his horse, his hat, and beside it, a shattered pumpkin. Was it a ghost? Or was it Brom Bones? The story masterfully refuses to say, and that refusal is the entire point. By maintaining this ambiguity, the story elevates itself from a simple tale into a profound meditation on the nature of belief. If the horseman were proven to be Brom, the magic of the valley would die, reduced to a clever prank. If it were proven to be a real ghost, the story would lose its psychological depth, becoming mere supernatural horror. Its power lies in the unresolved space between those two possibilities. That shattered pumpkin is one of the most brilliant symbols in American literature. It is, simultaneously, a mundane object of the harvest, a comical prop in a prank, and the terrifying, gruesome specter of a decapitated head. It exists in both the real and the supernatural worlds at the same time. The pumpkin is Sleepy Hollow. It represents the permanent blur between what is real and what is believed, a line that, within the valley's misty borders, ceases to exist. In the end, we realize the true monster of Sleepy Hollow was never the Headless Horseman. The true monster was the unbridgeable gap between reality and perception. It was the ambiguity that the valley thrives on, and the terror that Ichabod's own mind projected into that void. Brom Bones didn't need to conjure a real specter from the underworld. All he had to do was hold up a mirror to Ichabod's own soul, and let the man's own fears do the rest. The community, through its champion, defended itself not with force, but by turning its enemy's greatest weakness, his own runaway imagination, into the agent of his own destruction. The story ends with a quiet, knowing smile. Brom Bones, his rival, vanished, marries Katrina, and is said to laugh heartily whenever the story of the pumpkin is told. But the true victor is the legend IT Self, which has now claimed a new victim and grown all the more powerful for it. The tale invites us to look inward, to examine the hollows within our own mind. What are OUR Headless Horsemen? What stories, told to us by others, or whispered by our own anxieties, are we racing away from in the dark? And in that desperate race toward a bridge that promises safety, what essential parts of ourselves might we be leaving behind, scattered on the road next to a shattered pumpkin?